but gold already is darn near within striking distance of all-time highs. But it's even more fascinating when you consider. Remember the good old days when silver and gold had the wind at their tail? It seemed like nothing could go wrong until the last 2 years. Silver and gold have been fighting a number of headwinds, but on June 14th, will that all change? Will that be the defining moment when the pendulum starts to swing back the other way? Because on that day, we're going to hear from our old friend Jerome Powell. The interest rate policy decision, the big announcement, the big press release. What's he going to say? What's he going to do? And what will happen to the price of silver and gold? I think we could be headed for $28 silver and $2,200 gold. Yes, a new all-time high for gold, and that could trigger another event that would be very good for us precious metal holders. We're going to talk about that also at the end of the video. Remember 16 months ago when the Fed started raising interest rates? We had no idea it would turn into the fastest paced interest rate hike period in the history of the Fed. For the last 16 months, month after month, it seems like we're hit with another raise in the interest rates, and that has been really painful for us gold and silver investors. I mean, the Fed's usually wrong about everything. A lot of people were saying the Fed was going to pivot like a year ago, but they've stayed the course raising interest rates. That's going to change on June 14th. At least I think it is. Look, I could be wrong. You can refute me in the comment section below. But those 16 months of interest rate hikes, the fastest pace, they're a lagging effect, meaning it takes time for that to bleed through to the economy. We're just now starting to see the economy slow down precipitously, right? Trucking rates are crashing. Retail sales are dropping. The volume of transactions occurring in the economy are coming down, which will signal to Jerome Powell and his friends at the Fed that they better think twice before they raise rates any more. You don't have to be Jerome Powell to join me in the basement. You are the most important part of Ron's Basement. You're welcome here anytime. I hope you found a little home away from home, right? We want to figure out what's going on in the world, and silver is what binds us together. Please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. What do you think about the banking sector? Do you think they're under a little stress? Do you think those 3 of the 4 biggest bank failures in history that we've had within the last 2 months, that's the only problem out there? I want you to think about it this way. My kids always want popcorn. I get out a big pot, pour some oil into it, think of the oil as the interest rates, and then throw a bunch of popcorn kernels in there. As the oil heats up, and that would be the interest rates getting higher, a couple kernels pop at first, maybe 2 or 3. Think of them as the banks that failed. The rest of the kernels are also under immense heat or pressure, just like the rest of the banking system. And if they keep that heat turned up on the banking sector, if they keep the interest rates high, or even turn it up a little bit, make it a little hotter, we're going to see massive numbers of bank failures here in the United States. Further reason why the Fed won't raise rates. But there's more. Our old friend Janet Yellen, she ran the U.S. government out of money. The Treasury needs to issue $1 billion plus in new treasuries. They need to raise a ton of money in the coming months. That alone will suck so much liquidity out of the economy. Most everyone is saying it's going to be the equivalent alone of another quarter-point rate hike. Being in debt is no fun. The deeper in debt you go, the harder it gets to get out. Have you experienced that for yourself? Well, if you were the United States government, you'd be experiencing it at full force right now. Our government has so much debt, $32 trillion, and now no limit. They can raise the debt as much as they want in the coming year and a half. The only problem is the higher the interest rates go, the more the interest expense on all that debt gobbles up the government budget. It's really not a sustainable situation. If the Fed continues to raise rates, the U.S. government will just be in such horrific, worse, if that's possible, financial condition, the whole system could implode. You ever watch those zombie television programs? My wife Susie watches them all the time. Hey, look, we don't believe in zombies, but if you're in the United States, we actually have a large percentage of companies that are considered to be zombies, meaning they can't survive in a high interest rate environment because they benefited from zero interest rate policy for decades and were able to basically survive by borrowing more and more and more money at low rates. Well, guess what? The hen has come home to roost. A lot of those companies already are claiming bankruptcy. It's kind of like the popcorn analogy I gave you in regards to the banks. These companies are starting to pop, and as rates go even higher, if they do go higher, we're going to have an onslaught of companies claiming bankruptcy, which again could wreak havoc on the U.S. economy. And it's not just the United States. The world in total has over $305 trillion of debt. At higher interest rates, it's just plain not sustainable. So to think that the Fed is going to continue with an aggressive interest rate hike policy with the level of debt, right? The nominal level of debt that there is, the math just doesn't work out. And when we take a step back and look at it, take a look at the forest through the trees, it certainly doesn't appear that there's much more room for the Fed to raise interest rates. Now, something very good about that for precious metals holders is that will likely likely symbolize a change in the pendulum, a change in momentum for the silver price and gold price. And think about this, guys. It's super exciting. Gold, right? The granddaddy of all precious metals. Silver's like the little brother, the little cousin, however you want to think about it. But gold already is darn near within striking distance of all-time highs. But it's even more fascinating when you consider that gold also, from a sentiment perspective, from almost every measurement, is at all-time lows. So if gold is able to break through the all-time high number and we get even the slightest improvement in sentiment, I'm telling you, we could be off to the races. Now, I called for $2,200 gold by the end of June. We'll see if that plays out. Heck, we could be seeing $2,300, $2,400 gold later in the summer. Thanks for joining me. Go watch a live stream, and I'll see you soon.